welcome to Anna's Book Nook, and today in the tea library I brought out my new tea, and it is an herbal blend of comfreys, yarrow, Spanish needle, bronze fennel, and rosemary. And I actually have a cool story behind that. Is I went to this random Pilates class that I heard of from a friend, and it's just in someone's backyard. It happens a few times a year. It's very new. And so I attended this like morning Pilates class. I'm not a morning person and it sounded horrible. I was regretting my life the moment I woke up. And I get to this Pilates class and it's gorgeous outside and it was so peaceful. And after the class, we got to pick 20 stalks of these fresh grown herbs from the garden, and all had these little like signs that said what it was. It introduced itself like, "Hi, I'm Yarrow. I came into this garden by," I don't remember the story, but they all had their own little personal stories and then what it does for the body. So this is a huge like anti-inflammatory like healing blend, which like I talked about last time, I need that. And so I grabbed 20 stalks of mostly anti-inflammatory herbs, and it came with the price of the whole thing. And now I have all these herbs. I even bought I got this whole thing of like lavender. I got this lemon balm that's, let's see, and little leaf sage. You're supposed to only drink it at night. Apparently it's like super calming, like overly so, like it's an anti-anxiety almost kind of tea. I haven't noticed that personally. I don't know, I tend to have a high tolerance though. And anyways, long tangent to say, I have this really fun tea that I've been using. It tastes amazing and it works really well for anti-inflammatories. So if anyone needs recommendations, I put together that blend if you have the opportunity to go to a local herb garden. Anyways, so that is the tea of the day, and our passage of the day is in Ecclesiastes 4, and I'm starting in verse 9. And if you noticed, I definitely left my cute purple Bible in my car, so I'm using my tiny little ESV. This has been with me through just about everything. This was the first Bible that I really used when I actually like delved deeper into my faith, and as you can see, kind of torn up, very yellow and beaten up. It definitely got some water on it at some point. Well loved. So we're pulling this little guy out today, and so it's an ESV version, and again starting chapter 4 of Ecclesiastes verse 9, and it says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, and has not another to lift him up. Again, if two lie together, they keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Better is a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who no longer knew how to take advice. For he went from prison to the throne, though in his own kingdom he had been born poor. I saw all the living who move about under the sun, along with that youth who is to stand in the king's place. There is no end of all the people, all of whom he led. Yet those who come later will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and striving after the wind." So if you're familiar with Ecclesiastes, everything is vanity and striving after the wind, literally like everything. But that's actually not my focal point today. Is I actually made this video this morning on the way to my on my commute to work, and I did the whole video without the passage, mind you, since I don't have scripture memorized like that, and I kind of subquoted it, paraphrased it, and made the whole video like about 10-15 minutes long, only to find out that the entire drive I have this little like duck that hangs from my mirror, as well as like a charm bracelet that's like a chain with all these little charms, and it was clanging the entire ride, and so it ruined the video, and I decided I should probably remake it in my typical, what I'm hoping to be my typical setting of my cozy little book nook with tea, and and actually sit down with this and read the Bible. So I'm glad I got to remake it, but I will be kind of repeating what I was trying to say earlier today, and hopefully remember all what it was. But this morning, I had this kind of thought process. For those of you who don't know, I am recently single again. I'm 25 years old, and I still live with my parents. And needless to say, I was not expecting this for where I'm at now in my life. I grew up like literally first grade, even before I went into first grade, if we're gonna be for real. I've been boy crazy my whole life. I like to say that I'm not on the crazy end anymore, but I was constantly boy crazy growing up and always envisioned myself married like straight out of high school. At least within the first couple of years. Definitely by 25, I'd be married with like some kids, a house, the whole like shebang, and I'd be kind of set for my life. And this time around, dating somebody, I did feel like it was different. I went about it a little different, and I really thought God would like put this man here for me for a reason. It wasn't me being boy crazy. I was actually content for like the first time in my life with being single. I was very happy with where I was at. I wasn't actually looking for somebody, and it really felt like, you know, God put the pieces together, and I just kind of let it happen, and I thought that this was maybe gonna be it, and needless to say, it wasn't. And it just, I've been going through this process afterwards of trying to get back to where I was before, of being content with where I'm at, resurrendering that dream of one day getting married and having kids, and just allowing the Lord to work in me with who I am right now, where I am right now, and with the people I'm with right now. And it's been this whole like process of trying to resubmit that and be okay with that again in my life. And I was really just thinking through that all this morning, and just also like the idea that I wanted to share something that this was, I'm gonna be honest, I'm still in the wrestling process right now, but this was where I was at before everything, before like my last season of singleness. And this was my thought process behind it, and I've been trying to get back there, and I wanted to share that with y'all as well, because I know I'm not the only one who struggles with this. And it's really the idea, we're going to tie this back to the passage, I promise. It's really the idea that we are made for companionship and community, and thus we're pulling back to the passage here of our scripture of two are better than one, and woe to him if he falls and doesn't have another to lift them up. And you know, the wise king, he's a foolish king if he doesn't take advice from people anymore. And just these like different instances of needing people around you. And honestly, there's so many more passages around scripture that I'm gonna bop around with. I'm not good at memorizing things, and the idea of trying to scroll through every single one was a little stressful to me for this video. But I'm going to paraphrase some things as well of more just broader stories of like David, for instance. And it talks a lot. I've decided that I really like David. He keeps growing on me as I'm going through these like big moments in my faith. And it boils back to David. I think you brought him up in the last video. And how, like, yes, he was married. And honestly, the whole thing with Bathsheba was almost more of like a warning than made to be this like beautiful thing. God turned it into some, like, God works through all things. Not trying to downplay that, but you know, obviously David has a lot of women in his life, and but really where we see like the beauty in relationship is actually with his best friend, who was King Saul's son, and they grew up, like they were best friends, and they're just a beauty in their relationship of that like brotherhood. And literally, like, you know, what was his name? I can't think of his name, but the best friend, Saul's son, literally like was against his own father who was trying to kill David, and he helped David escape, and he's like standing up for David, and he was willing to like lay down the throne, like his right to the throne for David, like seeing that David was the Lord's anointed, and this man, like, you know, he would do anything for David pretty much, and vice versa. And there's just this like strong beauty in that like twofold relationship right there. And you see Jesus even with the disciples, even out of the disciples, he chose his close three, and you just see that type of a community, and him leaning, like, I don't know if that's the right word to say, leaning on them, because obviously Jesus like is enough to like maintain himself, but he did invite them into some personal spaces of his life and share deep moments with them, and allowed them to help, like, to be there for his burdens. And even Paul, like, you know, he's traveling and, you know, preaching the gospel, and you see him traveling with companions, and just he mentions a lot of people he partners with to help spread the word, and they all have their different like parts and roles in this, but basically he's not alone either. And there's so many stories in the Bible of these people in various types of relationships, companionship, community, and it's all like working together beautifully to like for God's glory, really, and just in their own lives too. It's a beautiful thing, and it really made me think about how we all really look for that one type of beautiful relationship. And I'm not trying to downplay it. I still want to be married someday. I still think marriage is absolutely like the most beautiful relationship. I mean, not the most, your relationship with God is the most beautiful relationship. Let's be for real here, guys. But the symbolism in marriage, and that, you know, that dying to yourself and committing yourself to this one other person for the rest of your life, like there's a lot of symbolic meaning in that, with also our faith with God, our relationship with God, and it's just it is a different type of relationship. But even outside that though, they're like, we all look to that as this like almost like this idol in our lives of like we're empty without that, and that is just straight up not true. Going back to our last video of focusing on what is true, that is not true. You don't need that. Your life is just as valid without that, and you are not alone. You're not lonely. You don't have to be if you don't have that. And there's a lot of fulfillment in different types of relationships in your life with like your friends, your church, your work, even your family. I know for me, actually, like this season of being out of a relationship again and being single, it was actually such a beautiful moment for me of I had so many people to reach out to, and I reached out to so many people like immediately. And not for the sake of gossip and drama, I honestly didn't want that at all. It was more the opposite of, I don't want this being talked about way later, like, oh, I just found out and let's bring this up again, and oh, this person overhears this conversation, and then I didn't want that. I just wanted to tell all my girlies right off the bat what happened, so I could have their support. And man, did I have their support. I had so many people calling me right away, texting me, taking me out for lunch. I had one friend who my family went out of town, and one friend just kind of came over a bunch of nights in a row, and we just watched, I watched Divergent, I think, for the first time. And we just binge watched that together. Made chocolate chip cookies at like 9 p.m. at night, and you know, I just had so many people coming around me and building me up and spending time with me and showing me that I really am not alone at all. And this is something I've struggled with, like, you know, after, you know, a romantic relationship has died, of just feeling like I'm so alone. I don't have someone here, like, you know, to talk to every day, to hang out with in the evenings, and like, you know, there was just kind of this void that I struggled and didn't know what to do with. And this time around, I was like, wow, I am not alone. I have so many people that I have built up these relationships with over the past year or so. I'm newer to the area, for those of you who don't know, so most of these relationships are about only a year and a half old. But even still, like, I spent that time pouring into these people, and I mean, vice versa. And in my time of need, I had them around me when I needed them. And I just thought that was so lovely. And I just wanted to share that, like, even if we don't have that romantic relationship to pour into, we can have that community with others. And I know I had a cousin say, you know, like, that I have such like a big heart and I have so much, you know, in me to give. And she literally was just, my cousin's hilarious. She's just like, stop wasting it on men that don't deserve it. And I just hear her little attitude in my voice. I don't know if it's funny to you or not, but, you know, just don't waste it on men that don't deserve it. And just like pour it into the rest of the people around you that have shown you they care about you. And I decided that that's really what I want to do. I want to pour into the people around me. I want to pour into my community. That's actually part of the reason why I'm doing these videos, is I wanted a place to kind of pour out just some of my faith and testimony and just things I'm learning, and hopefully it's touching, you know, y'all as well. And I actually also want to announce a little, we're still in the planning process, y'all, but I want to start something along the lines that involves hiking and Bible studies, worship, like a women's group. And this dawned on me today, and I haven't been able to get it out of my mind, and I think it's just I'm just gonna announce it, that this is gonna be a thing, and I will keep y'all posted on what this looks like in the future. It's probably going to be on my Instagram versus YouTube, but I'll maybe mention it in my next video as well. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. I really want to build up just that community, place to kind of pour out into, and do kind of some of what we do in these videos out together in like a community setting instead of me just posting online. So yeah, basically lean into your other community, y'all. You don't need a man. Men are nice. I'm not a man hater at this point, but you don't need one. You have your girlies, you have your church, you have your family. Take their advice, lean into them, let them like build you up, like be around you, and God has you where you're supposed to be at, and you're not falling behind in life. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Because your life is its unique individual timeline, and God is perfect. He has you exactly where you're supposed to be. So I know for me, I feel behind, you know, in life. Like I should be, you know, these many steps ahead based on what like the world tells me. And that's just not true. God has you where you're at for a reason. He's working in you, and you're not missing out on something you're supposed to be having right now. So just rest in that, just find that peace in that. And I just pray that for y'all, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your night or day, depending on when you're watching this. And yeah, love you guys.